The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us this Thursday afternoon. Today we've got Dan Martin and myself, Evan Gorman. Very excited today to bring you the latest and greatest LabTech integration. A lot of demand for this. So proud to say that it's finally here. Today we're actually going to run through a test drive, let you guys kick the tires a little bit. You get to see firsthand what's going on, what we've been really hard working at. So definitely want to thank all of you for joining us today. It's we've got a lot scheduled. It's going to be quick, so you got to listen fast. We're going to cover a lot of new material, so definitely want to be on your toes for this one. I am going to start by just saying if you can save your questions for the end of the webinar. We're probably going to have about 15 minutes of material, just jam-packed with learning material. Then after that, we'll hopefully answer some of the questions that you may have. So have your questions ready, but definitely want to hear from you on your questions and feedback, because that's definitely very important to us. So with that, I'm going to open the floor up to Dan Martin, and he'll show you what we've been working on. Dan?
All righty. Well, thank you, Evan. And as Evan said, we were very happy to have everyone here today, and wanted to kind of go through a just kind of a brief layout of how this works inside of ConnectSMART. So I'm going to go ahead and this may be a repeat for some of you who are already ConnectSMART users, but I wanted to just start off with at the very beginning. So in the beginning, we have the creator. This is the Power Gadgets creator in this case.
I know where this is going.
Right. And the creator said, let there be a gadget. So when you first open up the ConnectSMART creator, you have a variety of options for the different product lines that we offer or that you have enabled in your initial installation. I'm not going to go through the details of that right now, but you can see that I have 5 different connections that are enabled. And the one that we're going to be focusing on today is ConnectSMART for LabTech. So inside of the ConnectSMART for LabTech, we have 2 primary sections that have been defined right now. The first being probably the most important one for most people, being the monitors that you have inside of the monitor sets inside of LabTech. And the second is all of the different patch information. So let's start off with just the monitors.
All right, Dan, I'm going to interrupt you here a little bit. If you can, I'm just coming from a newbie standpoint. Tell me exactly, what's the difference between a monitor, a patch? I mean, how do you guys categorize? How did you decide on this? I mean, just show me exactly what you've got broken out, if you can.
So the first one is the monitors. So those monitors are going to be exactly those monitors that are defined inside of LabTech itself. So LabTech defines the monitoring into 4 elements, being the internal monitor, the location monitor, network monitor, and then the system monitor. And most people probably have their defined monitors being the internal monitors. And you'll notice that we have one gadget here that's set up for internal monitors. And this is just a very simple digital panel for creating gadgets for the internal monitors. So to actually start doing something with it, we simply double-click on the item, on the gadget, and it adds it over to a slide. We now have a very generic internal monitors gadget that we can now start to configure. So the way that we configure these gadgets is we can define it in the creator of what we want this particular gadget to be looking at. And to do that, we go into Data and Edit Parameters. In the edit parameters, you can see these are all of the different options that we've predefined for you to be able to set up your gadget to be looking at. So let's just take a simple one like, I'm just going to take one here called the backup monitor. I'm going to make that the default. And I'm not going to go through a lot of the detail here right now in all of these different parameters and how the parameters work, but I will point out all the functionality of parameters is all of the ConnectSMART products and is documented on our website. So if you go to ConnectSMART.com and you look at documentation, one of those items in there, there's a whole section on parameters and how to work with those parameters. So once we define the parameter, now we can also set up, these are going to be the default ones, we can go ahead and change what it is that we're looking at. So instead of it just being a generic internal monitor, I'm going to go over here on this right-hand side where we can control all of the look and feel in excruciating detail. And I'm just going to change this to be, I think I said BDR, so I'm just going to call this BDR collection failure.
Okay, so the pane on the right, that advanced settings, that's, you're basically saying that's just look and feel. So that's appearance. And as far as data connection, that's all done via the parameters, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and make just a couple changes here to, make changes to my background colors. You can change your look and your feel, your colors, your sizes, your shapes, all those different things can be defined over here on the right-hand side for your parameters, or on your on the advanced settings. So once we have defined our gadget, all we have to do is simply save the gadget. And to save this out here into a generic, and I have created a gadget. So that gives us our first look at creating a gadget, in this case on the internal monitor. Now, especially on the internal monitors, you have any element that is available. So any monitor that you have defined, you can put that name and now monitor it and create a separate gadget just for that item.
That's very nice.
Now, let's say you have two that you want to. This goes into a functionality, which is really creating a dashboard. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a name. The first one I did was BDR, and I'm going to just say this is disk. I'm not going to define all these right now, but I'm just giving it a name so I can keep track of what they are.
So what are you doing right now? Are you adding another gadget to the panel? Or?
Yep. So I just double-clicked on internal monitor because I want to have two different gadgets on the same dashboard that are looking at two different kinds of monitors.
Gotcha.
Now I can leave all of my settings the same that I already have defined, like do I want particular agents or a particular particular client that I'm looking at, a particular location for a client location, the intervals and all those kinds of things. But in this case, the only thing that I want to be different between these two gadgets is going to be the name of the monitor. So I can select that as a separate parameter. All the others are going to be linked to an existing parameter. I'll go ahead and hit close. So now I've just added another gadget that's looking at all the same information except for the monitor name. So I can define that as a different monitor name. Now I'm not going to go through all of the detail here, but just to show you, now once you've added these guys together, you now have the ability to drag them around, make them different sizes, add different types to really build that complete dashboard.
So to summarize, you can actually create your own customized multi-pane dashboard, drag the gadgets to wherever you want, so they're all preset. You build them one time, then you save out that gadget, and that's your one gadget to click on, or do you have individual ones, or how do you prefer?
Absolutely. So you just create it. It really depends on what your focus is, how you're going to be using the gadgets. For us, we have a variety. In most of our large screens where we have a full dashboard that's built out, we'll build that all into a single dashboard. One gadget that is taking up the full screen that has all the elements that we care about to have on that particular monitor. On the case of individuals, we're typically going to have those as separate gadgets, because one of those differences between ConnectSMART and some other products is this is really designed not just to show you information sitting out up on a screen, but for you to be able to do something about it. So take action. And that take action is really critical and is really the reason that we designed a lot of ConnectSMART in the way that we did. Because you might be asking, well, great, I have an internal monitor. What's any different about having an internal monitor where I can now look at, I can see the same stuff inside of LabTech? Absolutely.
Now, sorry, that was actually one of the questions here from one of our viewers is, I've already got the Ignite heads-up display. Why do I need ConnectSMART?
Yeah, so I mean, this is a perfect example. Here I am doing my daily work inside of ConnectSMART, and I can see that we've got the things that I have done. But oh my gosh, my job is to focus on backups. I can see without going into LabTech and seeing that my job is supposed to be focusing on backups in this in the case of this example. I've got 7 that failed. It's put right in front of me. Double click on it, go to that list of machines, drill down, as long as you have the LabTech client installed on your machine, drill down all the way into to the machine level of LabTech to make something happen, make a difference. So again, you're not waiting for LabTech to raise an alarm, to push that over into ConnectWise, to get an email, all those kinds of things. You have it right on your desktop if you're the guy responsible for backups. In addition, some of those critical elements like locations. I actually set the location monitor in this case to go back 3 months, so I could have a lot of, a whole lot of things, and a large failure. I guess 2 months here, so I could have a large failure to force some failures on locations being offline. But as soon as the location was to go offline or a particular critical server, we have a critical servers group that we keep track of in our system. Any of those key elements, we don't only have those on desktops for the engineers, but we have those on screens all around the office. So you walk in the front door and bam, you can immediately see if we have a critical server that's gone offline. Everybody knows what's going on. Anybody can take action. So you don't kind of get that tunnel vision that engineers and that we can all have a tendency to have where we're working on one thing. Now I can see immediately I have 7 backups that need to be addressed. That's a critical issue.
And it's great if anyone can see it and address it, and they walk through a hallway and they see that number, they know to notify an engineer, hey, it looks like we've got 3 viruses infected on 3 machines,
Absolutely. It provides an accountability as well as it provides a visibility. So both of those are really important for us.
Gotcha. Good deal.
So I'm not going to go into the detail between the internal, the location, network. All of you who are using using LabTech, you're familiar with how those function. I just want to point out that for each one of those, you have that same functionality to take advantage of all the filtering options that you would have inside of LabTech. And we've added some additional, like what is a failure. You can change some of those. I just kind of put in some defaults here. But you can set those up to really focus on, you may want a quicker time to failure than the default from LabTech of 15 minutes. You may want that to be 5 minutes counts as a failure for a particular high-value customer, knowing that you're going to have that gadget pop up maybe a little too often if you have a brief disruption, but you're going to be able to see that very quickly and really deliver what your salespeople have a tendency to sell, which is, we'll know about it before you do. Now you actually can know about it before the client's calling you, or at least know at the same time. So if the customer's calling, you see that on caller ID, you can see, hey, we had a server that just went offline. You're answering. The engineers are now been empowered with more information. They don't get blindsided near as much.
Now, Dan, you mentioned something about that 15-minute mark. Is that the minimum that you can pull up in LabTech, or is
yeah, well, that's the default refresh interval, or the failure status, the failure count for LabTech is actually internally right at 15 minutes. So the documentation actually is pointing to 10 minutes, but in the real world time to fail is right at 15 minutes inside of LabTech. So we have the ability to actually make that a much smaller number, knowing that if you want to take advantage of it, you can.
So how small are we talking? Kind of a window. If
you
I've
can
got
put it down to a minute. You can put it down to 1 minute, but you're probably going to go crazy with false alarms in that case.
Okay.
But it's something that you can play with. And again, the administrator or managers can define what those are. This creator that we're looking at, that's the administrator's version. When the end user is running it, all that they're seeing is simply a nice gadget sitting on their screen. And so you can define, do they have the ability to change those parameters at runtime or not? Those can be completely locked down to just provide the information if you don't want your end users to change it.
So it can be wide open or it can be secure depending on how you build it.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, so I've got a couple of people asking about pricing. Where we start, does this work for, well, let's start with pricing and go into the next question.
Sure. So pricing is pretty simple. It follows the same as our typical products. So if you're an existing ConnectSMART user, then it's a flat add-on fee. So you have it's $100 a month is an add-on to give you the LabTech sets for that includes all the monitor sets and the patching, and we have a lot more stuff that's going to be coming as well, so that you can make any of these items part of your dashboard. So that's $100 a month. If you are a brand new customer, brand new to ConnectSMART, you don't have an existing core product, as we call it, then LabTech can be your first core product, and that starts at $125 a month.
Gotcha. Now, is that blanket or how many devices? How does that work?
That 125 is for 5 users. So that gives you 5 devices that you can install and have dashboards running on up to 5 devices.
I see. Okay. Good. Well, definitely looks good. You covered pretty much everything. I do have a question here. One of the guys on the list says he already has ConnectSMART. Is there any promos going for that, or actually, I think you?
Yeah, I think I'll just kind of restate that because I kind of went through that quickly. If you already have ConnectSMART, then this becomes an add-on package. So an add-on is simply $100 a month, and it is a part of your existing licenses. So if you already had a 5-user, let's say a 5-user ConnectWise, or a 5-user ConnectWise hosted, 10-user, then this is a flat add-on, and it's part of that pool of users. So a user who's using ConnectSMART already, this is a flat add-on. There's no additional user count or user charges for that.
I see. Okay. All righty. Well, it looks like we're kind of getting on the threshold of running out of time here. Maybe we'll open it up for a couple more questions, just an open forum. If you guys have questions, feel free to raise your hand. We'll try to address those as quickly as we can. I know that, let's see, Frank, you had, we answered Frank. Let's see, any questions out there? Anyone curious about some of the features or the pricing? Do we have a gadget for a virus report on workstations and servers?
You know, that's a great thing. Thank you for pointing that out. Anything that you can create an internal monitor on. So if you have an internal monitor for viruses, absolutely, you've got that. That's going to go ahead and flip that internal alert. That becomes now a part of a gadget. We had some, disk space running low. Some of the ones that we've defined: backups failure, BDR collection failed. Server needing reboot. That would actually come from some of the patching elements. Test virtualization failed. People who are heavily involved with virtualization, when was the last time that something has been virtualized and tested? You can create, one of the beautiful things about LabTech, you can create an internal monitor on just about anything that you can dream up. And as soon as you've created that internal monitor, now you can put that into a gadget and focus just on that single gadget to now draw your attention to it. As soon as that trigger flips and you've raised that alert, you can know about it in a gadget. So, yeah, excellent question.
Okay.
Any more?
We got any other questions out there? A couple of these we've already answered during the webinar. Feel free to raise your hand. David also asked if we want to add sound to a gadget. Can you set up alerts with sound? So it hits a 5 or something and it'll alert you. How does that work?
That is a common question. The only way that we can currently do that, we don't have that built into the UI, into the creator functionality. We do have a developer edition. So there are those who want to get really down and dirty into the code itself and use this as simply a development tool. And PowerShell, we have full PowerShell support for people who like to play with those kinds of things. We have done that inside of PowerShell. So, kind of having fun on it. Hey Joe, what's going on? Server's down. Those kinds of things. So you can add those in PowerShell, but that does require programming. It's not currently a feature that we have in the user interface.
Okay, so basically you have to be a programmer in order to do that, or do you provide samples of code, or how does that work?
Yeah, it does require, you have to be you would need to be what we would call a scripter, so you would have to be very familiar and comfortable with doing Windows scripting, and then we would provide you sample code that includes PowerShell code that is initiating sound files or audio files and You can have it generate emails, send those images via email, things like that. So that can all be done, but it does require a scripting experience. You may have a SQL programmer on staff or somebody who's really good at doing T-SQL. Usually those kinds of people would also be good at doing scripting.
Okay. I've got another question here that is, will internal monitors also include Exchange SQL monitors?
Anything that's on that internal monitors tab, if you go to monitors, internal, any element that will show up there, you can pull that into the gadget.
So basically everything you have in LabTech,
yep,
you can pull
absolutely.
You've made that available.
Yep. Any internal monitor, any system monitor, any location monitor, and any network monitor. And you have full control over all of the variables in each one of those monitor sets to be able to have it as broad or as limited as you want. You can have it limited down to the specific machine that might have a virus count, or a location, a company, you name it. So full control.
Now, we already answered this, but how is this different from my heads-up display in LabTech?
Well, I think, yeah, one of the biggest differences is that it's a single pane of glass. So someone already on the call had mentioned, I've got ConnectWise. Well, I've got a ConnectWise piece, and I want to be looking at my average response time, and I want to make sure I have, critical servers offline is at 0. VIP customers' laptops is at 0. And I don't want to have to be going back and forth and have an instruction manual for someone that says, you need to make sure that you put this into a ticket, you track this, and go into LabTech to verify this information or wait for a ticket to show up. I can at a glance as an owner see immediately I have no VIP workstations offline and I have no critical servers offline. I'm good with the health of my company. If those numbers are going crazy, I know I have a problem. I never have to go into ConnectWise. I never have to go into LabTech to see that information. And then the final element of that is as an end user, it's how I do work. So again, in the example of, if I'm the BDR guy, I had 85 BDR failures. I can double click on that, go to that list of 85 and work through that list and be right inside of my application without having to go to another place.
Okay. We've got a Surface user here, Microsoft Surface, wants to know if he can use this with his touch display. Will these gadgets work?
Not yet. That is something that is in development right now, is the Windows 8 and RT application, but that has not been released at this point. So currently the way that you would leverage that is, and I don't remember if SplashTop has made it into RT yet for Surface RT. I use SplashTop personally and leverage it through SplashTop or also through the Citrix client, but we do not have the native Windows 8 or RT clients available yet.
But you can actually, correct me if I'm wrong, you can double-click on these gadgets, say if you did have a touch display in Windows 7, to bring up the grid to go to that, to address the issue.
Yeah, so yeah, Windows 7, Windows 8, I use SplashTop and have these running on my iPad as well as using the native iPad app. That is something we didn't mention, is we do have native iPad, Android, all the iOS clients, so that you can have those gadgets published through the mobile provider for you to have on your desk or have on your laptop. I'll get to here in a second. Have it on your phone or have it on your tablet with you wherever you are. It's a huge sales tool that we leverage ourselves internally quite a bit.
Gotcha. All right. Looks like we're coming to the end of the questions here. Anyone else have any questions that you wanted to submit before we wrap this up? Like I said, short and sweet. A little intense, but definitely wanted to make some room for a Q&A session. So if you do have any questions, they are welcome. Don't hesitate. Don't be shy. Where can we get it, and when is the download available? That's a big question.
Yeah, good question. So we should have the download should be available on Monday. Actually, it's supposed to be available today, but the keys that finalized the registration ended up out of country right now. So we had a little bit of a miscommunication.
It is the holidays.
It is the holidays. So yes, one of our chief software architect, who's very heavily involved with this, is doing a mission trip down in Colombia. So he left without leaving us those keys for the registration. So that should be up, though, on Monday.
Okay. In the download section on the website.
Yeah.
Okay. Good deal. All right. Well, listen, I think that's about all of the questions. Dan, definitely want to thank you. That's very conclusive. Great first look at LabTech. Definitely promising. It's great to see that that's all available in just a single pane of glass. Anything in the future? Do you have any anything you want to add? Any training or for?
Yeah, we do have for existing customers. Check out our webpage for upcoming webinars. You'll be hearing from us. We've got a lot of stuff coming out. We also have the new API-based ConnectSMART, which works with both hosted and with premise.
Right.
So that is coming out or is out at this point. Download also should be out there, or it's either out there already or should be there on Monday. So that works with if you're a premise user or a hosted user. So got a lot of stuff happening.
Okay.
So keep tuned.
All right.
And again, thank you everyone for joining us today. Hope it's been informative.
Good deal. Well, thank you, Dan. And definitely want to thank everyone for showing up today. Appreciate all your questions and your feedback. And we will catch you next time. Definitely stay tuned on the webinars. We've got a lot coming out in the future. And definitely appreciate all the feedback we've been receiving. It's been very helpful. We've also got the forum enhancement requests. If you see anything in the product that you want to see in the future, don't hesitate to submit those, and we'll try to implement them as well. So thank you, everyone. Definitely appreciate you being with us, and we will catch you next time.